Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Reignite Your Soul podcast. It has been a little while since been on here live with you guys chatting, and I'm super excited. We've got round two all ready to go, and lots of cool new speakers here. And over the last few months, it's been like I think COVID has hit us all pretty hard, and I was in this cocoon phase where I was really going internal, doing a lot of inner work, and we're out of this cocoon coming out like a butterfly, like a phoenix, ready to freaking go for round two of this podcast. And I am so excited because I have such a beautiful guest here today, Julia Simone, who is an incredible friend of mine. She's a recovery coach and an artist. And she just has such an incredible story and so much value to offer this world. So I am really excited for everyone who has decided to join us on today's episode. And we're actually going to be getting these going again. So you'll be receiving a new episode every single Monday. So every Monday morning, you can look out for a new episode coming out where we're going to be sharing lots of different stories, different education, lots of new stuff to help you to open your heart, expand your mind to an entirely new way of being. So thank you so much, Julia, for being here today with me.
Thank you so much for having me, Laura. Can you hear me okay?
I can, yes.
Awesome. It's such an honor to be here, and I just look up to you so much. So keep going.
Aww.
It's so incredible.
Thanks so much, girl. So I would love it. Would you mind just sharing a little bit about your story and kind of what you're really passionate about right now? A little bit about your story and what you're really passionate about.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. There's so many facets to my story. I would say, um, you know, even just the first aspect of my story where I was in a state when I was younger in my late teens, early 20s, where I was binge eating all the time and really just blaming the external world for why I felt the way I was feeling. And ironically, it seemed like, I was young, but I felt like I had everything going for me. I was an athlete. I was, just excelled academically, went to an amazing university in Montreal, and just still really found myself incredibly depressed, binge eating, and wondering why I was feeling the way I was feeling. And it wasn't until someone asked me, "Are you sick and tired of feeling sick and tired?" that I said, "Oh my God, yes." And I knew I needed to make a shift because I had seen members of my family who maybe waited until their later years to make those shifts and the impacts that had on us as kids. And I just said, you know what, if I need to make these shifts, I'm going to make them now. And I just got hungry for growth, and I met the right person at the right time. I don't believe in coincidences, but I believe that when the student is ready, all the teachers appear. And she really taught me a new way of being, like what you said at the beginning. Just how can we get into new states of being? I found tools and modalities to help me release trauma from my body and release the emotional burdens. And it's been a long road. I mean, even later, after my first awakening, I still was hungry for growth, and I was working my corporate job. And I kind of knew that I had something that I always wanted to impact people with. And I also had creative dreams. Just kind of thought that I had to make a bunch of money before I could express those creative dreams and before I could actually make an impact in the world. How wrong I was. And, I was introduced through a beautiful community with Isogenics and the nutrition community that helped me see that I could be a young entrepreneur and also help countless people. So I started coaching people on the side through a modality called the spiral, which was what helped me really release the emotional baggage that I was holding on to. And I was in the health and wellness space as a trainer and as a health coach as well, just really navigating that. And even recently during COVID, the shift of fully going into my own practice and who I really feel that I am as an artist, as a human, as a sister, as a daughter, and diving deeper into what really means the most to me, which is my family and the people that are around me. That was a huge shift as well. So there's so many things that we can talk about today, but I'm just grateful to be here. You tell me what comes up.
Wow. Thank you so much, Julia, for sharing all of that. And I know that so many people listening to this can definitely resonate with so many parts of your story. I know I personally can as well. Just like how you said, like excelling academically and then coming to this place of knowing that there is something more for you out there where you wanted to express yourself creatively and all that stuff. And it's such a cool experience. And I know it's like when you're looking forward, it's always so messy and it's hard and it's all of these things. And then looking back, it looks like this like seamless line that was just like, it's perfectly divine, everything that brought you to where you are today. And I'm just so grateful that you're in my life. And I know you mentioned that there was a time where I think there's a lot of people, especially with everything that's happened in the world the last year and a half with the pandemic and everything like that. There's a lot of people right now who are realizing that they're not really happy with where they're at in their current life. And I know I can definitely relate to that a few years ago, 3 years ago, where I was at that point. So is there anything like, what was that moment for you where you kind of like feel like you hit rock bottom? And what did you do to get out of it at that point?
Yeah, this is great. I felt like I've hit a few rock bottoms. There's been different rock bottoms in my life, and this is important because everyone's rock bottom is going to look so different. I mean, even as an 18-year-old, when I sat in, because literally I was so hungry for growth. I sat in AA meetings for the first couple years of my personal development, right? And that's where I was hearing stories and I was hearing hope and I was hearing people really share about their addictions. And as a food addict, it's a little bit different. But it was the same. It was the same emotional rock bottoms that we were facing. So rock bottom for me was, at first being this all-star athlete that just couldn't contain her emotions and just saying to myself, I don't want to be 40 when I make a change. I want to do it now. And I struggled with this concept of, is this enough of a rock bottom? I'm only 18 years old. I'm so young. Is this enough of a rock bottom for me to make this shift? And I realized that it didn't matter how big your rock bottom had to be. I didn't have to, have 40 years of an addictive experience. I just had to decide that that was enough for me. So that was my first rock bottom. My second rock bottom probably was at work, just going day in and day out to a job that didn't really fulfill every single component of what I felt my contribution on this planet was and how I felt. I felt tired. I felt low energy. My body was breaking down. I had low back pain. The physical, we diminish the impact that the physical body has on us. But when we can pay attention, our bodies are speaking to us all the time. And for me, the physical pain that I was in was enough for me to say something needs to change. And this lifestyle is not for me. And so I made a shift in my lifestyle. And that's when I looked into nutrition tools and the different variety of healings out there. And then financially as well, even working for myself, um, hitting rock bottom with my money story. I had beliefs like money is the root of all evil, and I had beliefs that people abuse money for different reasons, and that was tainting my ability to be successful in business. And I found that there was always a cap when I was working for others. And so that was when I decided to transition and really learn about how to run my own business and how to excel as a human, as a coach, as a leader. And so even in my relationship, I had a different rock bottom, in with personal relationships where the dynamic wasn't working. Me needing someone to be something for me all the time made me feel terrible inside. And so I realized that I had to shift there. And I sought support for that. And I sought coaches to help me with that. And it's amazing, right? Because it's like I am the same person, but my reality has shifted. And so it doesn't matter what your transition moment looks like. All you need to know is that that's enough for you to want to make that shift. And sometimes that pain isn't enough for someone, but you can decide that that's enough pain. You can kind of decide that it doesn't need to be bleak and dark before you actually make that transition. All you need to decide is that I'm ready. I'm ready to make that next step. And like I said, when the student is ready, the teachers appear. So For me personally, I love learning with others. I've always needed someone to kind of help me adopt a new reality, which is why I'm so open for coaching and I'm so open for asking for help. But I realize that it's not as easy for other people, and some people like to navigate it themselves. So totally depends what you'd love to have happen for yourself. But as long as you decide that that's enough, there's gold in that transition moment of that pain for sure. And then, knowing that what you do actually want is possible.
I love that so much. Gold in the transition moments. And when the student is ready, the teachers will appear. I totally agree with that. And you're like first rock bottom too. Like, did it take you a while to go into the AA to create that change? Because I know for me, like there's a lot of like ego and wanting to prove ourselves in society, like we don't want to let people down. We want to show that we are capable of living a life that like basically like following up the actions with the words that we say, and I know lots of people, it's that first step of asking for help or even receiving help. Because with my story, I know you know my story, and most people on the podcast probably already know my story, but going through like accumulating the whole like timeline of success of the house, the dogs, the career, the 6-figure income, the pension, all of those things. I had so many friends and family that were loving on me. And when my relationship got kind of very toxic and I was starting to decline myself, I had some of my really good family members, my mom, my cousin, my sister, reach out for help. And I just was not ready for that change. And looking back, I understand that I had so many other lessons to learn in those transition moments before I actually made those changes. And I used to, for a long time, I used to judge myself for not getting out of that situation sooner, because I was in that relationship for 2 years of like, things need to change or else like I can't do this anymore. Things need to change or else I can't do this anymore. And I would just allow that cycle to continue and continue and continue. And it was all just because I wasn't quite ready to learn those lessons. But the very first time that I accepted that help, and it was actually when Isogenics came to my life as well, when my mom introduced that to me, that was really kind of the thing that cracked it open. And I don't know where this like mistrust comes in, where we felt like we had to do it on our own to really prove ourselves. But as soon as I accepted help that first time and got introduced to a community of people that were okay asking for help, it completely changed everything. And then, like you said, all of those other rock bottoms, because life is all about cycles. I'm really learning that lately. Like everything is like cycles and transitions, and it's about being okay with all of it. And when we're in those transition moments, it's okay to ask for help. And like you said, when the student is ready, the teachers appear. They're everywhere. And even like Joel, like we can talk a little bit more about Joel in the podcast too, but like he said last night about what was I just going to say? I completely lost it.
Is paradise?
Sorry?
The planet Earth is paradise?
Yeah, and how everything is available for us. And it's so true. It's like somebody else already has everything that you're looking to achieve. So it's here, it's possible for you, and I think we forget that.
Yes. I'm going to touch on a couple points. It's like we are addicted to our struggle. And the reason that we're addicted to our struggle is because it's all that we know. And the human body is addicted to that sense of safety. So if my struggle is my current sense of safety, that's all that I know. That's all that I know. And there's that, the ancient saying, if you want to go short or slow, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. We really do need people to show us a new reality, because if we've only known one life, that's all we know. We don't even know that our beliefs might be tainted by our societal conditioning and how we grew up. And we don't even know, because we've only known one way of being, until someone kind of comes into our life and shakes things up a little bit, triggers us a little bit. And maybe, I have so many stories of people I used to be jealous of who are now my best friends, because they showed me something that I deeply wanted in myself. I wanted to be someone who was more outgoing. I wanted to be more confident. I wanted to be more trusting of money and abundant. I wanted to be more creative and expressive. And people had to come into my life to shake up my reality to do that. And I also had to accept that at the end of the day, I don't know anything. So what do I have to lose? Like, did I want to lose another 10 years of my life staying stuck in my shit? For me, that was more expensive than investing in myself. It was. What was at stake was more expensive.
Huge. Yeah, and I love how you mentioned about like being jealous of other people, because I think it's like it's one of those transitions you have to go through as you start learning more about personal development, right? It's like you see these people living the way that you want, like the way that you would like to live, and it triggers you. Would you want to explain to everybody like what a trigger is? Because I know like as coaches, we use that word a lot, yet a lot of people probably don't even know what a trigger is.
Totally. I mean, forgive my off the cuff definition. I would say a trigger is something that just really incites an emotional reaction in us, or brings up a frightful reaction, or brings up uh, an animosity within us. It just might be, it's an emotional reaction to something out there. So for example, some of my previous triggers were even people living a lifestyle that I wanted, right? That I didn't have at the time when I was working my corporate 9 to 5. And I remember I watched people, and I was just looking at them, and I didn't realize what it was bringing up in me, but it was bringing up a sense of sadness, a sense of grief, a sense of, feeling different. There was a lot of I'm not good enough happening. And to be honest, um, it didn't make me feel good on the inside. But as I started to develop and learn the tools to be able to navigate those emotions, now I can see that when I see a friend of mine making a lot of money, wow, that's driftwood. That's like the universe kind of showing me that that's also possible for me. And I get to
Mhm.
see other people who are excelling in music. Oh my goodness, that's amazing. They're speaking their voice. I get to also see that that's possible for me. Thank you so much for showing me that this is possible. Oh my goodness, I get to see other people who have really close friendships and relationships, and they treat each other in such a healthy way. Oh my goodness, universe, thank you so much that I get to really witness my friends thriving, and for showing me what's possible in my friendships too.
Mhm.
Part of that also takes like radical responsibility, because sometimes when we get triggered, we want to blame the other person. Well, it's you who's wrong. And that's really our defense mechanism, because we don't want to admit that we feel hurt or sad or angry or violated. And hang on, I'll talk about the flip side of that as well, because the mirror doesn't always work. But we get to see where we have a responsibility in that trigger, and that will help us make the attitude shifts, or the belief shifts, or the values shifts that will actually reflect what we do want as opposed to what we don't want. So triggers can
Mhm.
become a huge, huge gift if we can see it that way. Then
Mhm.
on the flip side, where the mirror doesn't work is sometimes what people say to us is actually not okay. So our triggers are actually really helpful for showing us where something doesn't feel right in our bodies. When my friend calls me certain names, for example, when I don't respond to a text message, that's not healthy. If I didn't listen to my body and how that triggered me, right? And in the past, I would have gone back to friendships and relationships like that, because again, that struggle was addicting. But now I can say no, thank you. That's not for me, and I'm open and ready to have a conversation when the timing is right. But ultimately, I need to take care of myself. So your triggers are also your best friends in terms of showing you what's not okay in relationships and what's not okay for you in the world. So it's about learning how to be with them and learning what they're teaching you. And sometimes when we're by ourselves trying to navigate those things, our mind will trick us. Like our mind does fall back into patterns of safety and security always. And so sometimes the mind will make us think that it's safe to be isolated, or it's safe to be, you know, to, not talk to someone. But also when we work with the right people, they can kind of help us come out of those fear patterns and those triggered patterns, and help us really find abundance in ourselves and others.
Beautiful. Yeah, totally. It's really incredible because like understanding like that radical responsibility, we don't know what we don't know. You know, like Julia said, like when we're in the environment, we only know from based off of the experiences that we've experienced in this lifetime. And I don't know about you guys, but I definitely did not get taught how to ask myself these questions. You know, that's what I learned by like hiring coaches myself, or like just being involved in a community of people who have already been along this journey and learned from other people within this personal development space, and learning how to ask yourself those questions. So when you feel emotionally triggered, taking radical responsibility, understanding that our emotions are our emotions, and we're not like blaming other people or projecting other people. Oh, this person said this and it made me feel this way. Yes, it's valid the way that you feel. However, it's not about blaming other people. It's just like, okay, how do I feel and what actions do I want to take on this? Is this person an expander? Or is it truly just mirroring something that I truly desire in my life? And am I willing to see it as an inspiration instead of that jealousy? And start being like asking questions to myself, okay, like if they can do this, like this is also possible for me. Like what action steps are they taking? What was their A, B, and C? And I can also learn how to do A, B, and C in order to get there, right? And then from the other hand, I love how you said it could also be one of those things where it's like, I need to understand my self-worth. I need to understand what I deserve, how I deserve to be treated, and start setting boundaries for ourselves. And I know for me, like I used to do everything for everybody else. And it was an addiction. I know we talk about this, like being a recovery coach, and we've chatted quite a lot about this, all of the different addictions that are possible. And for me, it was helping people. Like it was like this hero complex. Like I wanted to save people. I wanted to help people because it made me feel good. Because growing up, it's like you're selfish if you put yourself first. So naturally, based off of that, if I'm selfish for putting myself first, that means that my worth is attached to the more that I help people. And it only ended up putting me in the ground. And I was helping lots of people, and I kept people in my life that maybe weren't necessarily treating me good, right? Like that relationship, it just kind of got very toxic. And I allowed that to happen for a very long time. So it's about like asking yourself the questions and tuning into your body. How do I feel in this? If it's something that I'm feeling good with, it's telling me to do more of it. If it's telling me, like if it's something that doesn't feel good in my body, it's telling me to ask myself more questions, you know? So I love that. Thank you so much for explaining more about triggers, because it's something that, like you said, like they're a massive blessing when you can actually understand what they are. And then when you experience them, actually taking the time to reflect on what they mean. It's huge.
It is huge. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So great.
Mm-hmm. What else should we talk about, Julia?
Well,
Anything coming up on your mind?
what's coming up? I think just what's coming up is what we talked about with Joel yesterday, but also it was so interesting because, you know, just even what's happening in the world and how we navigate the unknown and uncertainty. And I think there's just, you know, it made me sad even just to see the shooting that happened yesterday or a couple days ago, like during the Derek Chauvin trial and all that stuff, and just what's happening with our lockdown and everything and how people are really handling it. So maybe we can talk about tools to navigate uncertainty and how we can actually be helpful in terms of, you know, being there for people during this time.
I love that. Yeah. What, like, go for it. What kind of tools would you love to share? I honestly didn't even hear about that. I kind of like stay in my own bubble, and I don't really like listen to the news or any of that stuff. So like, it's always great, like hearing all of these things. And that's why I love having incredible people like you in my network, because you're an expander for me. Like all the people within my network, they're all expanders, and I learned so much, which is why I wanted to have this podcast, because I think that I'm so blessed. Like I've really realized the last year, like I'm so blessed to have the people in my life that I have, and to be able to share that, my expanders, with everybody who's following this podcast or following me on social media, to be able to just access the knowledge and just like the lens in which you see the world, because all of your past experiences that you've had have given you this unique lens on the world. And I think that goes for all of us, but I would just love for you just to kind of take it away, and you can just lead this wherever you would like to lead it, Julia.
Oh, so cool. Well, last night after we got off the call with Joel gave us some incredible tips about how we can just really start to use language, and how his guides really helped him to navigate he had a near death experience and came back. And the wisdom that he shared was that planet Earth is already heaven. Everything is happening for us. All we need to do is ask and see how it is given. And it was so interesting because right after we got off that call, it was so magical. I found out about the shooting, and I spoke to my friend Arjuna, who also had a near death experience. He's from Detroit. He was shot when he was 19 years old. Related activity. Again, had a near death experience, kind of died and came back to life. But he knew that his contribution on this planet was to impact youth that were in similar situations to him when he first got shot as well. And it was interesting because really I've been talking about this lately. I feel that divinely it's just a time to listen. And when I got on the phone with him yesterday, I just listened to his experience, because I'm not going to pretend to know what it's like to be a Black man in America. I'm not going to pretend to know what that feels like. But people need a few things right now. They need to feel seen, felt, and heard. And they need to feel that safety from each other. And I think what's happening in the world right now is that everyone wants to prove a point. We want to sell our products. We want to be someone in the world. We want to share our wisdom so badly so that we get noticed and recognized. And I'm just like, to what end, right? Like what does the end of success look like? And recently I've been exploring this concept of just really listening to other people's experiences. And when he spoke to me yesterday, he kind of was mentioning things like, Julie, I'm just not going to let this get me down. And, but I feel sad and hurt, and I just needed a day to be with myself, right? I can't imagine what it would feel like to be afraid of having an interaction with the cops, or what it would feel like to maybe do something that didn't merit that type of violence from people who are supposed to protect us. And I just listened. And the beauty that can unfold when we just listen to each other, like really listen. I think we're all so quick to give each other so much advice, but are you really hearing what that person's saying? Are you really seeing what that person is trying to share with you? Are you really, being in the presence and in the knowing of what that person is going through? And I just think so much peace can happen when we actually allow ourselves to be in that state. And I mean, like Laura, you do this sometimes better than I do, where you're just like, oh, I can really see what that person's moving through right now. And I'm just like, what? I didn't even think about it that way. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
But I do definitely feel like, because there's so much grief moving around our world right now, that listening is really key and is missing from a
Yeah.
lot of conversations.
Huge. And on the podcast, like I always say, like expanding our minds, and you just like really just show like how expanded your mind is. And it's also kind of cool because like they say, like you are the sum of the 5 people you spend your time with. However, it's like you've also got to branch outside of that. Like how often is it that we get caught in our comfort zone of being around all of the same people and hearing the same stories, and you're all living the same reality, that you forget that there's a whole bunch of other multiple different realities outside of what you're experiencing, right? So it's not about judging what other people are going through. Like it's about listening and hearing and just allowing people that space to be heard and understood. Because the biggest thing that I've learned over my lifetime so far is there's no right or wrong, there's only different. And I love that you shared that, and just like how you're able to just allow people the space to do that. And I think the more that we learn as a society to do that, right? Listening is a skill. I remember even like when I was a paramedic, like when your mind is so scattered and chaotic and noisy, you can't like even listen or yeah, you can't even listen. Like I remember trying to like follow a conversation and my mind would literally just be saying things, or like it would want to say something, like it would be already, it wouldn't even be present in the moment. And really learning how to become present was a huge thing for me. And that's like a lot of the stuff that I coach on now with my clients is becoming present, because it's not until we can be present that we can actually listen and hold space. And we talk about holding space for people so they can actually like share what's on their mind and what's exciting to them or what they're passionate about. And just offering people that space is allowing them the time to be able to process and really like become clear on what their vision is and what their passion is as well. It's just like it's all like a leveling up of different skills. But I know like all of this, like it's like, and I'm sure you can relate to this too, like since going on this personal development journey, it's like the person I've become in the process, like that's the thing that I'm most proud of. It's like the money, the business, the relationships, all of that's just a bonus. The lifestyle that we get to live, like the freedom, it's a bonus. But like the person I am, like I'm just so proud of myself for going through that.
I'm so proud of you. And so there are some of your beliefs that I need to borrow, and then there are some of my beliefs that you get to borrow, and
Mm-hmm.
just get to serve each other in that way, because everyone's so different. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that really helps as well is when I think so much we get caught up in our own head of how are people going to perceive me when I do this, or what are people going to think when I take out and make that leap. um, and when we make it about us, it's just it's not as fulfilling, it's not as fun. B, it really blocks us. We can't think outside of our box when it's just about us. But when we can think about the contribution that we came here to make, and how we came here to be of service, and how us taking that step outside of ourselves is really going to impact those around us, oh my goodness, all of a sudden my body just opens to the infinite possibilities that are around. And I see that as a huge, huge opportunity to shift from an individualist society to a more collective society, and how we can really just learn from how we get to be of service in this world, and maybe just paying attention to our thoughts in this moment. What am I thinking about on a day-to-day basis? Are the thoughts mostly concerned with myself? Are they concerned for the well-being of others? And this is different from putting yourself first, because ultimately putting yourself first, like Laura was saying, will allow you to make that much more of a contribution. When I wake up in the morning, sometimes I take 2 hours for myself, because that's what my body needs to get me in a good space. And then what else happens? The right people come into my life so that I can make my contribution that I came to this earth to make. And that's what really allows us to feel fulfilled, is finding the meaning in the day to day, finding the meaning in the minute things, finding the meaning in sometimes the mundane things of life. We can, when we make it about us, and when it becomes an individual experience, of course it's going to be easy to pick out the flaws and how things aren't working and the lack in the situation. But when we can ask how we can be of service, and how can life get any better than this, like Peter Kelly style, it's just it opens up so many more possibilities of being present. And that's what our trip really taught me, is
Mm-hmm.
to come back, that the gold is really in the present moment. You and I could have pre-planned everything that whole trip, but
That would
really
have sucked.
it would have sucked, because oh my goodness, how many people did I meet last minute? Or when we wanted to go left, but we instead went right, we found this really cool thing, and
Mm-hmm.
presence is really all that we have. So if our minds are so self-focused in the present moment, how can we allow ourselves to come back to the present moment in a way that feels nurturing? And sometimes asking the question, how can I be of service? Or, universe, show me where I can make my contribution in this moment. That kind of takes us out of ourselves and into the real moment.
Mm. Wow. Literally, like I just listen to you talk all day, but it's so true, like Literally, I think like the biggest thing I just took out of what you said was just like really setting an intention for what you want, but allowing yourself to flow with what's in front of you and just going based on how you feel. Because every single moment when we were doing stuff, like we weren't afraid to say, like when we were on our trip, we went to Canmore, Alberta for a month, and it was absolutely incredible. And we would just like whatever it was that individually we wanted to do, we would just share it with each other, and we wouldn't have any expectation of the other person wanting to join or anything, but we allowed that person the space to feel into it and be able to say yes or no based on how they felt. And I know like when we went to Jasper for the weekend, like I was like debating whether I wanted to go or not, because I'm like, oh, I could do work and whatnot, and I know both of us were kind of feeling that way, and it was like the best like little weekend ever. Like all of it was amazing, but just going up, like we almost ran out of gas on the way there. Like literally like didn't realize it was like hundreds of kilometers to Jasper, like in the mountains, no cell service, like all of this stuff. We're like saying prayers hoping we get there, but it truly did. It brought the joy into what we were doing, and it was all because we were living in that present moment. Like every mountain we're like, oh my gosh, wow, it's so beautiful. And then just allowing ourselves to go with the flow, and even just like doing like the snowboarding, and we ended up hiking, like we did like one of the summit hikes, and it was a double black diamond, and I have not snowboarded in a while, and we did it, we hiked up and did it, and it felt so good doing it. And it literally, it made me feel alive again, and just like gave me this whole new rejuvenated spirit. Because with everything that's going on right now, it's so easy for us to just succumb to this whole like, oh, everybody's story of it's a pandemic and I'm no longer allowed to live or experience or feel good, feeling like we have to, because there's a lot of people suffering, feeling like that has to be our reality as well, when it doesn't. Like we truly get to experience our reality without judgment. And wherever you are right now in this moment, whether you're in one of the cocoon phases where you're feeling like a lot of darkness and a lot of your shadow is coming up to really bring awareness to those parts of yourself, or whether you're coming out of it in those transition moments, or whether you're kind of like blossoming into this beautiful butterfly right now, you've got a lot of clarity as to where you want to go, you're making changes and taking action, like all of it is exactly perfect. But it's like really just trusting ourselves in this present moment, that everything is happening for us at all times.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So much is there. I mean, definitely even the fears coming up about taking that time for ourselves to be in nature. I never ever want to apologize for things that allow me to feel good ever again.
Yeah.
I just don't. It's just not in my vocabulary, like, and that, yeah, that fear of feeling good while so many people are struggling. But it is important to have compassion for those who are struggling right now, and that comes back to the listening component and really taking the time
Yeah.
to listen. And then there's a certain, there's a certain extent where we also can't enable things, and some of us are so much more, and I'm just going to say it, like I'm incredibly privileged as well, and that's something that I felt I had to apologize for. But when I can use my privilege to the maximum benefit, I can really allow it to help me serve so many other people, you know
Mm.
especially during this time. So we get to still do the things that allow us to feel good. Don't apologize for the things that allow you to feel good, whether it's with safety, going outside for walks, or having that phone call, nourishing foods, things that allow us to really feel good. And then it's also about, okay, um, who needs that support, and like, can we bring that energy to as many people as possible too, and build that community. So that's kind of what Laura and I are thinking about right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we actually we started a mind body community. And do you want to just share a little bit about that, Julia? Because I know we just had our one for April, and we've got one coming up in May. And that community, like honestly, like I don't think before I didn't understand how much of an impact online community could have, because it's like, what is an online community? It's invisible, like there's nothing in the physical form of what the heck this is. Like even us right now having this conversation over a screen. Like you're sitting in Toronto and I'm here near Lindsay. It's just like, it's such a mind-blowing concept of how the impact that like the online space can provide us for our personal growth.
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, this is something that we've created because I deeply wish that I had something like this when I was in my early recovery. I wanted to learn from people. I wanted to pick up these tools. I was hungry to grow myself as a person and as a professional. And what we have is, you know, a group of people who are like-minded individuals who want to spread their gifts all over the world. And we've got from fitness trainers to motivational speakers to coaches to breath work to meditation to, oh my gosh, even adventure stuff, all sorts of things in there. Also accompanied with the superfood nutrition that will allow your body to experience its highest state of performance and being, right? Like it just, it mind blows me every time we have someone speak how incredible it is to really hear from someone else's experience. And it's also a place where we don't need to feel alone because a lot of us are moving through shit and we want to isolate during this time, but the best thing that we can do is to link arms and say, hey, let's do this together.
Yeah.
Really pick it up and let's do this together. So we do have that mind body group and we run it for 5 days every first week of the month, where we will cleanse together and also do workouts together and have those mindset workshops as well. And then we also have a couple coaching opportunities coming up too, which Laura can talk about.
Yeah, we can definitely get into that. And a little bit more about the mind body community as well. It's like, even for us, like I learned so much in them. Like, I think we just need to realize that until the day we die, and even then, and like, I believe in reincarnation, like we're always learning, like, I don't know where this like ego came in, like where I felt like I like was too good to be learning from people, and it's like coming into this, it's like, this is a group for people that are really eager to learn. Like we're so blessed with technology to be like, have access to all of the most brilliant minds, and information and knowledge and wisdom all at the tip of our fingertips, like from our phones or our computers. And so in this group, that's basically what it is. Like, you can come in, like maybe you just want to really learn about breath work. Maybe you want to learn about Reiki. Maybe you want to just do some workouts. Maybe you want to just really tap into the nutrition or the mindset. Like, you don't have to do all of it. It's just a matter of coming in and having an open mind and experiencing. Because I know that like we truly don't know what's for us or what isn't until we try it. And then you can actually know how you feel. So I'm like super fired up for this community, for it to just like keep growing. The amount of engagement in there and the people that are just sharing their gratitudes for everything going on right now, despite the time that we're in. It was such a beautiful experience to get to be a part of.
Oh my God. Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll put some links of stuff to everything that we kind of chat about in this episode in the comments here. But if you do want to join us on this journey, the next one will start beginning of May, and we'll be sharing lots about it on our social media coming up more about that. But I'll put the link for it in the comments as well. And we've got some other cool opportunities coming up, and we want to just kind of take the end of this to kind of share that with you. If you're not looking for any new opportunities right now, then that's totally cool. But if you are somebody who is, because I know there's so many people right now reaching out, wanting help. So Julie and I have linked arms, and we have something really exciting coming in the fall.
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm so excited. So I've been running this group called Recover and Rise on my own for a while, and I'm just so excited to have Laura on board to support this group coaching experience. And really, it's an opportunity to heal from our trauma, to heal from any addictive patterns that we might have, or to just experience a new way of being where we can step into our confidence, step into our power, step into the people that we were destined to become, and to really start to live life as the creators of our own reality, and how we can start to navigate life from a different space of being. So through the 12-week course, we go through what are our attachment styles, how we can overcome the care of what people think of us, how we can overcome fear, resentment, and some of that long-standing trauma, all the way up to starting to manifest the creative life of our dreams. And by creative, it just means whatever you design for yourself. So I'm super excited to be doing that.
It's basically like step one to like your beautiful creation of life all in 12 weeks. And it's going to be really special. I'm really excited for it. So we'll obviously be keeping you posted more on that. But if you're somebody who is, maybe you can share, Julia, who would this be for?
This would be for people who fall into numbing patterns, whether it's with pot, food, relationships, toxic patterns in relationships, or really anyone who's just looking for the foundational tools. You know, we have everyone in this group, from people who are emotional clearing practitioners who still struggle with addictive patterns, all the way up to, beginners of this work, right? So this is really for anyone who's just looking for a supportive community to navigate your shit with, to let go of that shit, and to start being the freaking magical butterfly that you are. That in essence is what it is.
I love that. Basically, any human being that resonates with both the energy that Julie and I are putting out in the world, because it's just like, it's so fun when you can learn this stuff and not such a serious environment too. I know both of us love to have fun. Yes. We love to adventure. We love to throw a F-bomb in here every once in a while and swear a little bit. It's more just a fun way to do this. And like, I'm like a huge believer that this stuff should have been taught in like elementary school. Like, and I know you're really passionate about that, about like getting all of this information out there more, and just the ripple effect of what this information can provide people. It just excites me so much just to be in this avenue, to be able to provide this information right now in this time.
Yeah, and you are spreading it so well. So proud of you.
I love how you said a beautiful butterfly. So cool. Yeah. Cool. And then Julia, do you want to like just share a little bit about how people can get in contact with you? You're going to be on this podcast like a lot, because we've had so many chats and we're like, oh man, we should do a podcast episode about that. Oh, we should do a podcast episode about that. And like some really like fun topics that people usually never talk about out loud, that we're just going to come on here and just share. So how can people get a hold of you? How can people follow your journey? How can people connect with you? Because you are truly just such a beautiful ray of sunshine. Like, you truly are that beautiful butterfly. And like, I'm so grateful for you in my life. So how are people that are listening to this episode today able to get in contact with you?
Thank you so much for saying that. Oh my goodness. Yeah, the next time I come on here, we're going to be talking about vaginas and our menstrual cycles.
Maybe your butthole.
Yeah. Our sexuality, man, that's a huge one for raising our sense of self.
It is, yeah. Yeah. People and shame, like why are we ashamed to talk about certain things? It's just ridiculous. We're cutting out the emotion of shame in this society for sure.
That's the thing, right? Is that we all have shit, physical, that's the one thing we all have in common. We all have shit. We all do that stuff too. And when we can really lift the shame is when we can accept ourselves for both our dark sides and our light sides. You don't have to show up as a freaking butterfly all the time if you can't right now. And the shame happens is when we feel like we should be something other than exactly who we are. Can we accept ourselves exactly who we are and let go of that shame? We're in a society right now where more people are being transparent than ever before.
Yeah.
Yet at the same time, more people are comparing themselves to each other more than before. So let's come together and let's eradicate that freaking shame, because it sucks. And you don't need to be anyone exactly other than who you are. Where people can find me, yes, on Instagram, Julia Naya Simone. So JuliaNaia Simone. And also on Facebook, Julia Simone on Facebook. I am so grateful that you had me. Oh, also my website is juliasimone.ca, where you can read about my full story and read about the emotional clearing work as well that I've been doing for the last few years that changed my life. And I'm happy to also add you into the mind and body space with Laura.
And the spiral work, the emotional clearing work, I've done so many things, guys. Like done like the ayahuasca, like the plant medicine, so much other personal development type growth stuff. And I'm going through the spiral right now with Julia, and we're on, I believe, the
Vision.
third eye vision. Yeah. And it has blown my mind the amount of shit that I've released over the last little bit since we've done it. It's such powerful work. So definitely reach out to Julia if you're somebody who is wanting to really level up right now. There's so many different avenues in which you can go down for any price point, really. Like we've got the free mind body. We've got Julia also has a course coming up with Joel, who Joel is such an incredible human being. He is just like, Joel's like, how old is he? 75?
75 and beautiful.
75, and just like the energy this man has, he is like a guru. Like he is like somebody that you could just listen to talk and just tell his stories, and he has so much wisdom to share. So Julia has an incredible program coming up that they're launching. When is it? Do you want to talk a little bit about that before we pop off? So that's like something that I think is just amazing. I'm actually going to be participating in it as well because I'm just so excited to learn.
Definitely. There are just so many leaders who want to leave an impact right now. And a lot of us don't have the language tools to be able to A, promote ourselves, but also B, serve other people in the right way. And I'm going to be a student for this course as well. Joel's going to be really the main one teaching him, and I'm just kind of facilitating and supporting it. But he's going to be teaching us the language technologies to become a master leader and communicator. Like, how necessary is this? Because really the stories that we tell ourselves are the stories that we live, and every single word that we say has an impact on our body. And so every single story that we share has an impact on our body, and it literally is the way that we navigate life. So he is a master in ontology, the study of being, and also in linguistics, and he's going to be sharing the language tools to be able to really become a master leader and communicator.
Incredible.
So executive, anyone who leads a team, but also anyone who just wants to be a better family member or member of society, truly.
It truly is information. Like everything that we've kind of shared today is all information just for a human being, it doesn't really matter where you are on your journey. You can definitely benefit from tapping into any of this stuff. So I just want to thank you so much, Julia, for coming on here and having this chat with us all today. You're such a beautiful soul, and you just have so much wisdom to be able to share with the world, and like your energy and your love and your compassion that you have just to be able to impact people and impact the planet right now. It really inspires me so much.
Thank you so much for having me. You inspire me as well. I'm just so grateful to have you as a friend, girl. You're going to create ripples in this world. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we can definitely do this all together. So if you guys found value in this episode, please feel free to share it out. And also, if you guys ever have any questions, you have anything that you would like us to chat about on another episode, like please feel free to reach out on social media to either Julia or I. And we're going to be creating lots of different content, having lots of different cool chats coming up here. And if you really want to tap into any of the stuff that Julia is providing right now, any of the services that she has, feel free to just shoot her a message, go to her website, and she will definitely take amazing care of you. So thank you so much, Julia, for being on here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and listening. And I'm just so proud of you for investing your time right now to just be leveling up your life and learning new knowledge and expanding your minds, opening your hearts to an entirely new way of being, because there truly is so much abundance out there for all of us, and we all can rise to the top together. So much love. We love you so much, and we will see you all on the next episode. Bye, everyone.